Hola, mi gente. Welcome or welcome back to Cat and Too Many Books. I am Kat, and I am here again to do another 10 books. But these are my top 10 worst / disappointing books of 2025. So yeah, I don't think I have 10. I think I have 9. Yes, I have 9. So top 9 most disappointing / worst books of the year. So I'm going to talk about the worst books. And these I am not putting in order. So I'm not saying this is the worst book of the year, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to do a 10 to 1 because half of these books weren't the worst books I read. They were just really disappointing. And then the other ones I didn't finish. So we're going to put those as worst because they were so bad that I stopped reading them. So let's talk about those first. Let's talk about the worst books that I read or didn't read because I DNF'd them. So let's talk about those. So there's 4. We'll start with from bottom up. So let's start with the first one that I DNF'd. That was Misery. My goodness, I'm so sorry. Misery Hates Company by Elizabeth Hobbs. Okay, so this was library read that I got. I saw it in the library and I thought, oh, okay. I mean, it was like set in the 18th century. It was about, I think she was an archaeologist, a girl who was studying archaeology, if I remember correctly. And also, like, it was a mystery. So she was supposed to use, like, her skills, I think, as an archaeologist to, like, help solve some mystery. Sorry, I that's a weird thing to say. I don't remember her name. I want to say it was just I just couldn't get through. I think I read maybe 60 pages of it at the most, but I just could not get into it. I didn't like the writing style of it, and I also really didn't like the main character because she kept saying she was one of those that was like, I was like, oh, she's like, she's not like other girls, kind of. I can't with those characters, and like how smart she is, and like oh, I don't know. It was just I was not enjoying her as a main character, and I didn't really like the writing style at all. So I just DNF'd it. So that was my first DNF of the year. My second, The Anting Conjurer's Guide to Murder by C.L. Miller. This thing I think has a sequel and it's probably a series. I don't know why. Abysmal writing in my opinion. It was just terrible. It was bad. Like I think it's another one. I try to give them a good chance, like 60, 70 pages. I think I made it to 50 pages in this one. No, thank you. It was repetitive. It was like this. It was just, there was no, they were like, I didn't like the characters. It was like a small town, and usually I enjoy those. Didn't like that at all. Didn't connect with anybody. The main character and her aunt were annoying and just I didn't get it. It just the mystery and the way it was like sort of being handled was just dumb. Like I didn't get it and was very like and the sense not that I didn't understand it. It was just like some really obvious stuff was happening and like the character was not like noticing and you're like well, but like that's probably what you're looking for, and it was just and it's just it was just I hated it. It's just I really did not enjoy it. So bye, it went. The next one was a nonfiction called The Case for Christ by Lee Strobel. And in this one, Lee Strobel is a writer for actually wrote for the Chicago Sun-Times or Tribune in the like 80s and 90s. And he's an investigative reporter who decides his wife finds Christianity and he's not a non-believer. And so he decides that he's going to prove that Christ didn't exist. Or that, I guess maybe we're like Christ wasn't who he said he was. But problem with, I didn't like the writing style of this. He continually talked about, like, bigged himself up about all of the investigative reporting he did and all these cases that he like investigated and was involved with in court cases and blah blah blah, to sort of relate to, I guess, finding evidence about the existence of Christ, or Christ being who he said he was, I guess, or whatever. I guess this is like from an apologist's perspective. Yeah, no, didn't like it. I didn't like the writing style. I also was like insulted a little bit because, like, I was, it's one of those things where I just like shake my head, because you don't have to believe that Jesus Christ was the Son of God, right? Understandable that people might not. But like the idea that proving whether he existed or not, like we, that is the one thing we do know. Like, a person named Jesus Christ existed in the world. Like, there are like written records of that person existing. So I was like, no, he was who he said he was, in terms of he was a person. Whether he was a prophet or someone who just believed himself to be the son of Jesus, he still did all the things that he said he did in terms of, the events, because those were written outside of the Bible. There are other writings that talk about that sort of show like a timeline. So I don't know. It was very weird. I am. Ugh. I don't talk about my religion, because I have a hard time with organized religion. I have a hard time with organized religion. I don't think the church does much for people. But I think faith does a lot for people. Like, I think people can have faith and that can guide them, and that is a good thing. Whether you believe that's true or not, whether that is in truth a thing that exists, whether I will ever see my mother or my father again in another life, that's something I'll never know. But like, faith is a thing that people can have, and it doesn't have to be in like God. You can have faith in a lot of things that guide you. So I believe very, very deeply in faith. I have my own relationship with faith in God that is nobody's business. But like, I just am not someone who's into the church's teachings half the time, because I think they warp things to a degree that let's not get into this, because I'm not getting into philosophical conversation about how people's faith is abused. I think that's a big thing. But anyway, didn't like the writing style. Felt kind of like it was redundant, because like, I'm like, he was a person that did exist in the world. So like, it's weird to be like, did he really exist? Was he really who he was? And he didn't prove that he was or wasn't either, because you can't prove it, because the whole point of faith is faith. But we're not going to get into that. Yeah, I think I stopped after about, I don't know, like maybe 6 chapters, and then I was like, I can't anymore, and I gave up. And then number 1 for me, DNF, I stopped at about 30 pages, was A Lot Like Adios by Alexis Daria. And this one hurt, because I really, really, really loved You Had Me at Ola. I love that book so much. I think I gave that book 4, maybe 4.5 stars. I loved it so much. I was like, oh, this is so good. And so I was really looking forward to reading the Primas of Power series. And I put it off for a while, and then I finally picked up the second one, which was A Lot Like Adios. No, thank you. I absolutely hated the girl, the main character. I can't remember her name is now. Marissa? I don't remember. The male main male character's name was Miguel. No, Manuel? Yeah, I think it was maybe Manuel. No, Miguel? Anyway, whatever. The two of them. I actually didn't. No, it was Gabriel. It was Gabriel. He was Gabriel. She was started with an M. I want to say Marissa, something like that. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm running on a tangent because this book annoyed. I just really flipping hated this book. I really, really disliked how she dismissed his So like, for whatever reason, the main male character has cut his family off, right? Like, he does not speak to them. He has gone no contact. And as a Latina, right, a Puertorriqueña, trust me when I say that if you are Latino and you have cut off your parents, you have a like family, you have gone no contact, there is a damn good reason, because we don't do that, right? Most of the time. It's a cultural thing. We do not stop talking to our parents. Trust me. Most of the time. So if he did, it was for a good reason. And so like dismissing that absolutely pissed me off. Like, she just was like, he didn't want to go back home because he didn't want to run into his parents. And so she, talked him into coming to visit and to stay with her, but then she couldn't stay with her because her apartment building was being renovated. I don't know. So she ended up basically having to stay with her parents, who are live next door to his parents. But she doesn't tell him that. She gets him in the car. She drives him. And as she's driving there, that's when she tells him that, like, they're staying at her parents. And he's like, no, I can't be there. And she basically tells him to get over it. And I was like, I'm sorry? I was like, and like, he's literally contemplating jumping out at the car and like rolling out the car when it slows down. Like, that's where he's at. And I was so absolutely just angry, because I was like, why not just then let him find a hotel, or you help him find a hotel? Like, and like, what? It was, yeah, I could not, like, and she kept dismissing his feelings about it and just being like, and she apparently something she'd done when they were younger as well, because this is kind of like a second chance romance. They knew each other when they were younger. It was just, I couldn't. I was like, no. Like, she forced him to go to her house. She kidnapped this guy, put him in her car, took him to a place he didn't want to be, and like forced him there. Like, if this had been the other way around and it had been a male character doing this to a female character, people would have been up in arms. I would have been hearing all about it. Hadn't heard a word about it. I think it was a couple of people I saw in a few reviews who were like upset about this. Yeah, it just, hated it. I hated it. I was like, nope, sorry. You don't dismiss someone who's got no contact with their Hispanic parents, especially, because they have a good reason. They really do. And their reasons are valid, and you should not be dismissing their reasons. And you should listen to the requests they have, and we should not be kidnapping people who don't want to go to places. So yeah, I stopped reading it, like, and I think like I got through the part and they got there, and then they literally started having sex on page like 30 or something, or 30 something. I was like, no. I hated it. Guys, I'm so sad. I'm so sad. And then I think I read the synopsis for the next one, and I also didn't think I was going to like that one. So I have put the Primas of Power to bed. I will not be reading any other ones. I will stick with Just You Had Me Hola and be happy with that one. So yeah, hated it. All right. So those were the DNFs, meaning these were the books that I thought were the worst books so far. I did not read them all, but I just did not like them and DNF'd them. I'm going to talk about the top 5 books that I had that, and I guess I did put these in order of like my least disappointing to my most disappointing, I guess. So number 5 was Carmilla by J. Sheridan de Fanu, which is basically a vampire story, sapphic vampire story that was written before Dracula. I think it was like inspiration for Dracula. And I gave it a 2.5. It was not terrible. It's a classic. I think maybe I gave it a 3, 2.5 to 3, something like that. It was fine, but it wasn't like great. And this has been built up as being, oh, it's such a great classic and whatever. And it was fine. It was a little dragged on a little much. It was the language is difficult when it's a book written so long ago, but I actually like classics, so that didn't bother me so much. I think the story might have been better told in a different format. in my opinion. But it was okay. And I mean, and maybe it's because I maybe feel like I've read better versions of this um, that were inspired by it. So I'm glad that it exists for that ability to have inspired other stories that I liked more. So yeah, this was in my number 5 spot. Number 4 was The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. I gave this 3 stars. I read it for my real life book club. And this isn't a book I would normally, but I would classify this as like a literary thriller more than like a thriller. But it had a lot of, geez Louise. There's something like on my balcony door that's like the wind is blowing it and like it keeps moving and I keep thinking that there's somebody moving outside on my balcony. So it's freaking me out. So okay, anyway, I did not like the way it was structured. So it was like, oh God, I don't even like 6 or 7 different characters. And that's fine some of the time. However, it was 6 or 7 characters and then 3 different timelines. So it was a lot. It was very convoluted. And not many of the characters were very likable, which is fine. I don't need them to be likable, but it was just too much happening. There was too much going on. I sort of figured out about halfway through who did what. So I didn't know how they did it though. So to be fair, that was a surprise when I read it. And then what had happened to this particular person. So like in this one, it was like a young girl has disappeared from a summer camp. And in that same camp, 14 years previous, her brother disappeared. So like the family is really rich and they own the camp. And so like it's just like this thing that's happening in this family. And so you're like following the detectives and the campers and like the counselors, the family and all that. And it's really messy and messed up. And some of the characters are very terrible. But it was just a little too convoluted for me. Too many perspectives, too many timelines. And it's kind of hard to follow a little bit. But the writing was really good, actually. Liz Moore has a good writing. I think I would read something from her again. Just maybe not this type of story. So, yeah, that was number 4. So I think in my 3rd spot for most disappointing book is a book called Murder Marks the Page by Karen Rose Smith. I did finish reading this book. It was as a cozy murder mystery. It's like a spinoff of a different murder series. So maybe that's why I just really didn't get into it. I think maybe you might have had to really have known this character from that other series to really maybe care. It takes place in a small like island, instead of village. I like a small island town, basically, a touristy little town. And it's about a girl who owns don't even remember her name, don't ask me, about a girl who like owns a bookstore, and then a friend of hers is murdered, and she has to figure out why. And it just wasn't, I don't know, I didn't really like, and I usually love these kinds of cozy mysteries that take place in a town with like town people that you like get to know and like set in a bookstore. Like all this should have been for me. I just didn't particularly care for the writing or the character or anything. I might have given it 1.5, I think. I didn't care. I didn't care at all. I did finish it, but I don't even remember who did it. Like I genuinely don't even remember most of the plot because I didn't like it much at all. Okay. Next, number 2 for my most disappointing read. This one's one that I've sad about because I was really, really, really looking forward to this. Spells for Forgetting by Adrienne Young. I gave it a 2.5 maybe. I appreciated the setting and the format. The atmosphere of this book was great. The island and the impending ominous feeling you have there, how it's steeped in magic and lore and stuff, was the best part of the book. I didn't dislike the characters. I hated the ending in terms of how the writer chose to resolve what happens. I don't want to give away anything. And I feel like it probably was realistic in some way, but I didn't like it because I felt that it should have been resolved in a different way. It made me not like old people. It made me not like elderly people, which I hate because I love elderly people so much. I was very much like, no. um, and it was just, like the vibes were interesting, but I felt like it was like the characters were written really young. So like it's told in two timelines, and when the one timeline is when they were 17, like when they were teenagers, and the other timeline is when they're in their 30s. And I didn't feel that they grew. Like they were not different enough. Like who you are at 17 is not who you are at 30. So I hated that. I was like, oh no, they don't sound any different. It was just they were really, really young. They read young. I don't know. I didn't really feel. I didn't feel this like love story that I was being fed. To be frank, like I just didn't feel it. I was like, okay. So like the vibes were good. Like I really liked the atmosphere, how Adrienne Young wrote her atmosphere and her setting, and even like the magic parts of it, like the darkness of that, and the ideas behind that, I liked. The actual execution did not. So I think I gave it a 2.5. I have another one of her books. I'm going to try reading it. But I feel like Adrienne Young was a young adult writer, and I'm not sure if, I'm not sure if she's her writing adults. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if she can write for adults. It's so weird to say that. But I will give her another chance because I did, again, like the vibes of the book. And, okay, so my number one most disappointing read, and I think this might be a little controversial, was Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. Now, hear me out. I think this book is an incredible concept. I love the idea of using the Legend of Arthur and the Rights of the Round Table in a very modern way. I love bringing in, a Black main character. I love bringing in, especially because it's set in North Carolina, I love using the history of this place. You can hear Miss B snoring in the background, can't you? People's hand in the oppression of Black people and Indigenous people in this place as part of the story. I thought that was really great. I really felt for the main character, whose name I can't remember right now. So sorry. Because of the loss of her mother, right? Which is how the book starts. I can relate to that. Not at her age, so young, but I had such good parts to it. Her coming in and being 16 and going into a college program and meeting people there and going with her best friend, but I didn't really like how her best friend handled what her friend was going through, what her main character was going through. She had very little empathy for someone who literally just lost her mother. I didn't particularly like that. But I could understand because they were young, right? And I think her friend comes around. But all that was good. And having her have powers and be really powerful and finding out she has powers and finding out that there are demons and there are things that are being fought against in this place was good. I didn't care so much about the romance with Nick. I remember his name. But he was a bit older. I mean, he's got to be at least 19 or whatever. She's 16. I want to bring this out again. She is 16 years old. So, they have a very, insta-lovey thing, which is fine because it's a young adult novel, so that's fine. Doesn't necessarily bother me. Don't love that he's 19, but It's fine. But then we bring in a character. I don't remember his name. Don't ask me to remember his name. I absolutely decided I could not take him. Who is basically like the Merlin, sort of stand-in for the Merlin. He's like the protector of the knights and stuff like that. Who targets the main character, hates her, and spends 60% of the book trying to kill her, physically hurting her, throwing her across places, putting her in danger, like genuinely saying god-awful things to her. And then we decide that he's going to be the other romantic interest. No? No. I vehemently hated that. Like, it ruined the entire book for me. And it's a me thing, right? The book is really well written. Wonderful. I think I gave it 3 stars in terms of how well it's written and the idea and the concepts behind it. And it was a really quick read. It was, I mean, you can enjoy reading it. I personally just hate that she would even remotely put this person who did this to this 16-year-old girl, put her through the crap that he put her through. Genuinely, I'm not joking that he physically hurt her. Was trying to kill her. Like, was just so terrible to her because he was protecting everybody. And suddenly have her just be like, oh, well, he's misunderstood. No! Like, no. And I know this continues on in the rest of the series and he becomes an actual real love interest. No. Nope. No thanks. So I will not be reading any more of Legendborn. I did finish it. I did, but I will not be reading anymore because I can't. Like, that's a thing for me. There's lines I don't like. That's a line. So sadly for me, because I really think, I'm sure it's so good. I just, it disappointed me so much doing that. Like, oh God, I hated it. So yeah, that was my number 1 disappointing read. And that's it, guys. I'm done with my disappointing reads. God, this is shorter than my best of the year. If these are some of your favorite books, I'm sorry. Tastes are subjective. Excuse me, not objective. Everything's subjective, so that's fine. I apologize if I said something about one of your favorite books. Sorry. I tried to be as kind about it as possible. But yeah, let me know in the comments, what was your least favorite book you read this year, your most disappointing book. Did we have anyone in common? Or just leave me a little like book emoji or something. Let me know you were here. That really helps the channel. If you're new, please subscribe, comment, like the video, and I will be back with another Bookmas Stay Short soon. All right. You guys have a wonderful day. Bye.